Welcome to Betrayed and Broken S. Enjoy watching. We hope you will have fun with us. The sun had barely risen when Amelia swung her leg over the saddle, her heart pounding with excitement. It was her first solo ride on Thunder, the ranch's most powerful stallion. He wasn't just any beautiful horses, he was fast, muscular, and had a wild energy that even the experienced trainers approached with caution. But Amelia was determined to prove herself. She had grown up watching others command the saddle, and now it was finally her turn. The crisp morning breeze brushed against her face as Thunder shifted beneath her. Already sensing her nervous energy, she gripped the reins tighter. Trying to study both the beautiful horses and her racing thoughts, the ranch owner had warned her. This beautiful horses doesn't follow unless you lead with confidence. But confidence is easier said than done when you're sitting on raw, untamed power. Amelia's booths lightly tapped Thunder's sides, and in a sudden burst they were off, the world blurred around her, trees, fences, the trail all vanishing behind, the pounding of hooves and the rush of wind. At first she laughed, overwhelmed by the thrill, but within seconds the ride shifted. Thunder picked up speed and her control started slipping. The power she thought she was ready for became overwhelming. She leaned forward trying to steady herself, but the beautiful horses had a mind of his own. It wasn't just a ride anymore. It was a test, and Amelia was no longer sure she could pass it. As the trail narrowed and a sharp bend approached, her smile faded. The grip on the residential tightened, but Thunder didn't slow down. That's when she realized this was more than just a ride. It was the moment everything changed, and just ahead something unexpected was waiting, something that would push Amelia beyond her limits. Thunder's hoofs thundered against the dirt path, sending dust flying. As Amelia fought to steady herself, her heart raced faster than the beautiful horses beneath her. Every muscle in her body tensed, her hands gripping the reins so tightly her knuckles turned white. She leaned forward, desperate to find control, but Thunder wasn't slowing. He seemed to feed off her unease, growing more determined to take the lead. Trees rushed past in a blur, branches scraping the air, and the ground dipped and rose unpredictably. The wind sped her hair into her face, but she didn't dare let go to push it away. Just a few minutes ago, she was full of confidence. Amelia had grown up visiting the ranch every summer, always watching from the sidelines as others rode with ease. Her cousin Liam especially had a natural bond with the beautiful horses, always calm and in control. But Amelia had felt overlooked, like everyone assumed she wasn't ready. Maybe she wasn't. But when Liam offered her a chance to take Thunder out alone, she couldn't say no. It was her chance to prove something, not just to him or the ranch owner, but to herself. Now, as Thunder tore through the trail like a force of nature, Amelia felt the weight of that decision. Every bump in the path jolted her spine, and she could feel the sheer strength of the animal beneath her. There was no gentleness in this ride. It was raw, wild, and something deeper, almost like Thunder was testing her. She shouted his name, her voice thin against the wind, but it didn't matter, he wasn't listening. Then, as they rounded the bend, Amelia's eyes widened just ahead. The trees opened up into a clearing, but something wasn't right. The air felt heavier, the light dimmer, and in the middle of that quiet space stood a figure still watching. It was too far to make out clearly, but May's got twisted. Thunder didn't stop, he didn't slow. If anything, he surged forward, drawn toward whatever was waiting in that clearing. Amelia wanted to pull back, to turn around, but her body felt frozen. Something told her that crossing into that space would change everything, and once they did, there'd be no turning back. As Thunder galloped into the clearing, Amelia's breath caught in her throat. The figure ahead didn't move, it just stood there, cloaked in the shadows cast by the tall trees that bordered the space. The sunlight that filtered through the leaves seemed dull, as if the air itself was holding its breath. Amelia squinted, trying to make out the details, but the speed made everything blur together. Thunder showed no sign of fear. If anything, his strides grew longer, more deliberate, like he knew exactly where he was going and who he was going toward. Her hands ached from holding the reins so tight, but she couldn't think of letting go. She was no longer riding the beautiful horses she was hanging on. She thought about jumping, rolling off before whatever was ahead came too close, but fear rooted her in place and something deeper. Curiosity maybe made her stay. As they closed the gap, the figure finally shifted slowly. Deliberately, it raised one arm, not in warning, but in a kind of calm, welcoming gesture. Amelia's heart pounded harder earlier that morning. Before the ride, she overheard Liam and one of the stable hands talking in hushed voices. Something about Thunder acting strange about a place deep in the woods where beautiful horses sometimes refused to go, where signals on phones cut out and even birds went quiet. Amelia hadn't paid it much attention. Sounded like one of those old ranch stories. The kind told around fires to scare newcomers. But now in this quiet clearing with Thunder pulling her towards something unknown. The memory crept back like a cold wind, and then she noticed something odd. There. It smelled strange, not like earth or trees or even hoe sweat. It had a metallic edge to it, sharp and unnatural. Her skin pickled as Thunder finally slowed, his body tense but controlled. The figure was now just a few feet away. Amelia could see it more clearly. It was a man or something like one. His eyes met hers, steady and dark, like they'd been waiting. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Liam paced nervously by the stable. Thunder's stall was still empty. He checked his phone again. No messages from Amelia. Something was wrong. He could feel it in his bones and deep in the woods. Amelia realized this was no ordinary ride. This was something else entirely. Thunder stopped so suddenly that Amelia jolted forward in the saddle, barely keeping her balance. The silence and the clearing was thick, pressing in on her from all sides. Even the sound of the wind had faded. The man standing ahead didn't blink. He was tall, with a weathered face and piercing eyes that seemed to see straight through her. His clothes were old, almost too old, like he didn't belong to this time. Amelia's fingers trembled on the reins. Her voice caught in her throat. She wanted to speak, to ask who he was and what he wanted, but something deep inside warned her to stay quiet. Thunder, usually restless and strong-headed, stood unnaturally still. His ears twitched, but his body didn't move. It was as if he too was waiting for something. The man slowly raised his hand palm facing the sky and whispered something Amelia couldn't hear the moment his lips moved. Thunder took a step forward. Amelia's body tensed. Everything in her screamed not to move, not to follow, but she had no choice. She was being pulled into something far bigger than a wild ride. Back at the ranch, Liam had saddled his own beautiful horses. He couldn't ignore the feeling that something had gone wrong. As he rode into the woods following the trail Amelia had taken, he noticed how quiet everything had become. Even the birds were gone. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. He hadid Amelia everything. Earlier, there had been stories about riders vanishing, strange sightings in the forest, beautiful horses returning without their riders. He had dismissed them until now. Amelia's heart pounded. As Thunder carried her closer, the man stepped to the side and pointed toward a path that didn't exist before. The trees had shifted, opening to reveal a narrow passage darker than the rest of the forest. Amelia glanced back, but the trail behind her was gone. Only thick trees now stood where she had come from. She looked into the dark path ahead and something flickered in the shadows. Movement. Quick and silent. The air grew colder, her breath visible as she exhaled. Thunder hesitated, then stepped forward again. Amelia held on, unsure of what she was rid into. Whatever waited ahead was close. Now too close, Thunder's hooves pressed into the dark soil of the new path. Each step more cautious than the last. Amelia could feel the tension ripple through his muscles. The deeper they went, the heavier the air became. The trees leaned in unnaturally close, their twisted branches hanging low, almost brushing against her arms. The strange figure that had guided them here had vanished the moment they entered, and now there was only the creaking of the trees and the occasional crunch of leaves beneath Thunder's hooves. Amelia's eyes darted from side to side. Shadows danced just beyond her vision, moving with a rhythm that didn't feel natural. Every instinct screamed for her to turn back, But there was no clear path behind them anymore. Only thick, tangled forest. Her thoughts raced. Was she trapped? Was this something supernatural? Test a trap. She reached for her phone again, only to find the screen completely black, not even the battery logo showing it was dead completely, just like the air around her. Suddenly, Thunder froze. His ears pointed forward, and his breath came in quick, shallow bursts. Amelia held her breath. Something was ahead. Then from the shadows came a low guttural growl, not from a human, not from a beautiful horse's, something else. Amelia strained to see, leaning slightly to the side. Between the trees stood a creature she couldn't fully understand. It was large, animal-like in form, but its eyes glowed unnaturally. It stared directly at her, not at Thunder, just her. Before she could react, a second figure emerged from the darkness behind it. This one human, a woman cloaked in dark fabric, her face hidden except for her eyes, which shimmer like the surface of a still lake under moonlight. She raised a hand slowly, and the creature retreated without a sound. Amelia's body was frozen in place, but her mind raced. Who was she? Why did the creature obey her? And how did Thunder, normally unshakable, look so spooked? Then the woman spoke. You shouldn't be here, not alone. Her voice was calm, but carried a weight that settled deep in Amelia's C*******T. But now that you are, you've seen too much. Amelia opened her mouth, but no words came out. The woman walked closer, her footsteps making no sound. Thunder backed away slightly. His muscles coiled, ready to bolt, but the path behind them was now sealed by thorns that hadn't been there a moment ago. They were trapped far from the clearing. Liam had made it to the trail's edge. He spotted hoofprints, deep and frantic, leading toward the hidden path as he dismounted, something shimmer in the air like a heat wave. And then the prince vanished. He stood still, confused, and for the first time scared. He whispered Amelia's name, but the forest swallowed his voice. Back in the shadowed path, the woman stepped even closer to Amelia. He brought you here for a reason, she said, nodding toward Thunder. But the reason isn't what you think. You're not riding him. He's delivering you. Amelia's heart dropped. Amelia stared at the woman, her breath shallow, her grip on the reins unsteady. The words echoed in her head. He's delivering you. Thunder understood, still beneath her. Not in fear, but in a strange, calm submission. It all started to make sense, the way the beautiful horses had chosen the path, the way he hadn't responded to her commands. He wasn't out of control. He was leading her. But to what and why? The woman's eyes softened. Not all power is meant to be tamed. Sometimes it leads us to the truth we've avoided. She reached out and touched Thunder's muzzle gently. The stallion blinked slowly, then lowered his head. He's part of something older, something that protects this forest. She continued. Only a few ever find this place and fewer still return. Amelia swallowed hard. Why me? Because you didn't come to control the power, the woman said. You came to understand it. At that moment, the air shifted, the darkness that had weighed down. The trail began to lift. A gentle breeze moved through the trees, and sunlight broke through the branches, warm and real. The creature that had once growled from the shadows now stood in the distance, silent and watching. It was no longer a threat, it had been a guardian. A test. Thunder turned, now calm, and started back along a path that hadn't been there minutes ago. The woman stepped aside, her presence already fading into the woods. Amelia gave her one last look, unsure if she'd ever see her again, and nudged Thunder gently. This time the stallion moved with ease, the journey back feeling entirely different, lighter. Understood. When she finally emerged from the trees, Liam was there, pacing, his face tight with worry. The moment he saw her, he ran forward, his voice shaking. Where were you? I couldn't find the trail. Thought I lost you. Amelia slid down from Thunder and looked back at the forest. I think I just found what I didn't know I was looking for. They walked back together, the late afternoon sun, painting gold across the hills. Thunder followed quietly, no longer wild but respected. Amelia knew now some rides aren't about control. They're about trust, power, and letting the unknown lead you to your truth. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, and leave a comment. If you enjoyed this story,